Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Money Goddess podcast. I am your host, Jasmine Thomas-Bridges, and I am so excited to share this episode with you because we are going to be talking about how we can make a return on our investment for 2024. So, as I am recording this, we are in the last quarter of 2024. And this can actually propel you forward into 2025 and just really prepare yourself for what is to come. And so these are the tips that I would recommend you walk into 2025 utilizing because it's going to help you to completely up level and change your entire life. So you want to listen to this all the way to the end because I am going deep, okay? So the first thing that I want to talk about is investing in yourself. That is a huge thing that I know has made me to have not only being profitable in business, but having profit in my personal life, in my own inner world. I have seen myself be able to have things that I shouldn't have until years down the line, and I was able to receive them at a much earlier age because I truly knew what I needed to do in terms of investing in myself. So, there are a lot of things that you can do to invest in yourself. Think about every area of your life. Okay. So, don't get me wrong. I don't want to overwhelm you because thinking of every area of your life can be kind of scary. But think about maybe the top three areas in your life that you really want to see change and transform. So for me, I know some things that I want to work on is my shadow side, which I'm going to do a whole entire episode about your shadow side, what that means, and how to work on it to increase your level of abundance. But that is something that I'm working on. I'm also working on my body because I want to shape and invest my body in a way that is going to allow me to fall more in love with my body because it takes work to do those things. So those are two areas that I'm really looking to invest in more within this quarter and propelling into 2025. And so, what that looks like is I actually purchased a journal talking about the shadow side so I can dig deeper. I've also been listening to subconscious subliminals to kind of help clear any blockages that I might have, I might not even be aware of. So, that is how I'm investing in my shadow side and inner healing. As far as my body, I have been doing vibroscoped at least for the past 2 weeks. I have to do it today, and I'm so like excited. I love doing it, and I'm already seeing the results. I'm very specific on like what type of results that I want to see. So I'm like toning my arms and my stomach a little bit more. So being clear and specific has really helped with that. I'm also being, and I've done this probably for the past 2 years, making sure that I have enough intake for protein. I've also decided to kind of switch my workouts up a little bit. So how I do that, so since June, I've been doing like HIIT workouts with strength training. So that has been really, really good. My body has gotten more so used to that. So now I'm doing HIIT alone for just for fat burn. And I'm really excited. Like I noticed I've got like yesterday I was super tired. Also noticed that my abs needed to have a little bit more work on them as well. So these are just things that I'm doing to invest in myself. And I want you to think about whatever top three things that you want to invest in, what will that require of you? Because an investment is not just about financially putting money somewhere, an investment can also be your time, which is valuable and precious, as well as your energy. And so I want you to sit and think about what areas of your life do you want to invest in, and what areas of your life are you not investing in. So, in order for me to focus on these things, I realized there were some things that I needed to like take my energy out of. One of them were dealing with certain friends. While I am like a normally very social person, I like being friends with everyone. I recognize that I really wasn't allowing myself to have the high value friends. Like I have some high value friends, but I have others that are not necessarily working on those types of things and really truly bettering their entire lives the way that I would like to go. And again, that's going to be another podcast episode about how to attract high value friends and like what my process has been like. But what I've found for me is that in those friendships, I really was investing a lot of my time because obviously I love them, but I also realized that those friends were not going to go into this next season with me. This season is different. This season is where I found myself literally, we now have TV show, we have the radio show, and I've shared with you guys that I'm also an educational consultant, and things are just totally different now than what they were in the past. Like I had more time to do those types of things, and now I don't. And at first I was a little nervous because I'm like, oh, well, I really need to have like a good social life. And it's not that I don't have a good social life, it's just that I am very conscious of who I'm socializing with. I'm always looking for people to be on my podcast. So, as far as friends go, if I don't have friends that are in this world where they're on their personal development journey and they're bettering themselves, then I really need to up level. And I've had good friends, but this is just a totally different level and circumstance. And so that is where I am headed and I'm not using my energy. Another thing too is when I'm dealing with like certain people, if I'm working on my inner healing, and one thing that I'm big about right now is just having peace. Like there are certain things that I'm not willing to like voice my opinion about or speak out about, especially if it's not going to help bring me peace. Now, sometimes there are things we just have to do, we have to say, but everything doesn't deserve a response. And my husband actually taught me that years ago, and I have seen it just pay off where I'm really not saying as much. I'm not getting into certain things because you have to ask yourself, does this really matter? Is this really going to bring me the return on investment that I really want? So when you start thinking about those types of things, you recognize you only have so much energy and you only need to put your energy into things that are going to propel you forward. And I know for me, when I'm working on my inner healing and I'm working on shaping my body, the rest of my life just only compounds and enhances and gets better and better. So that is what you want to look at. Where are you spending your time, your energy, as well as your money? And ask yourself, is this going to get me a return on investment? It doesn't matter how long it takes to get that return. And that is something a lot of people are more so wanting to focus on, which is that instant gratification. And that is also something that I'm learning about myself is I am what you might call a smart kid who gets everything quickly and, doesn't really struggle too much. But then when life throws curveballs, especially when I was much younger, like I would get frustrated and it's like, oh, why is this taking so long? And what I realized is that sometimes the longer it takes, the better. And I look at, for example, my husband, he actually brought in a huge lump sum of money. And while it took almost, yeah, it was over 2 years for that to come, if he would have taken it at first, he would have lost out on at least like $30,000. And now he has been able to bring in so much more. And his patience with his process has made his return on investment that much sweeter. And I'm so proud of him and that journey. And even, with myself, I'm starting to see that whenever you just take your time and you recognize that, while we love our manifestations, and sometimes it would be good to have our manifestations right when we ask for them. But honestly, there are some things that we need to wait on because we need to become better versions of ourselves. And we also need to know that sometimes God is intervening and making things better for us than we ever could have imagined. And that takes time, and time is not linear. It's not this thing that, is just go from point A to point B. Like time, I think of it as spiral, just like I see healing as spiral, meaning that it's always evolving. It depends on the person, the situation, and you just have to be flexible. So, as you are investing in yourself, you want to make sure that you are crystal clear on what you want to invest in, the things you don't need to invest in, and then being patient with the process that you are going to go on in your journey because it is going to be everything and more that you wanted. The next thing that I want you guys to look at when it comes to making a return on your investment is reclaiming your time. What I have recognized, and sometimes I think I take for granted how little time I spend on social media. I have never been like a big social media person until I started using it for business purposes. And that is how I built my brand. That's how I am working with you all now through this podcast and in the media is because of my social media presence. But a lot of people spend so much time scrolling and not really using it as a tool. Social media should be a tool for one of two things. One, it is a business purpose and you're propelling your brand forward, or two, you are using it to educate yourself. So for me, I am a YouTube girly, and that is where I actually find a lot of people that come here on the Money Goddess podcast because I'm either learning from them or there's something interesting that they have going on, whether it's a challenge or something along those lines. And it just really helps me to better myself. And so I see that as an investment as I am reclaiming my time. Like if I am going to scroll for something, it better be something that is going to help my life in some way to better it. Because when you are unaware of how much time you are letting pass by as you scroll and scroll, a couple things are happening. You are looking at other people's lives and you're not even looking and seeing the beauty of your own. It's kind of like the scrolling is just a void filler when you can actually have opportunities to better yourself. Really sit and think about that when you are on social media. If you need to take a social media break, delete the apps on your phone, that is totally fine. Truthfully, for me, I don't have any social media apps on my phone other than YouTube. Whenever I'm traveling, I do have like my email app on my phone because I know that I can't get to Wi-Fi all the time, so I need to check it. But as soon as I come back, like I'm deleting it because access is everything. And in life, to be honest with you, your time and energy are your wealth power. So whatever you put your time and energy into is what is going to make you a return on investment. So if you are putting so much time into looking at other people's lives and comparing your life, if you are in meaningless, looking at meaningless things, whether it's conversations or fights or whatever these things that are going on social media, you are literally giving your money away to these companies that have made social media. That is the reason why they have it. They, the more time you spend on social media, the more money they make. And don't get me wrong, if this is for business, if this is for your learning, that's fine because you're going to get a return on investment. But if it's just for literally to see what else is going on in the world, it can be a waste. And so if you are highly like kind of addicted to social media, I would recommend like start off maybe setting a time limit on your phone for like, 30 minutes a day. And then all of a sudden, you find yourself not even having as much interest. You're going to see so many changes. First of all, you might even start to get bored. And honestly, that boredom is going to make you want to do something else. And it might even make you more productive. Productivity is an important thing, especially when you're looking to use your time wisely. And I don't say this to make you feel like you have to be, on all the time and just doing. When I think of productivity, it's just, is this enhancing my life? Is this going to make me better for my future? So, some things you might want to do to reclaim your time instead of doing social media for, just to do it, consider starting a brand or creating a business, creating a YouTube channel, or just anything that is really going to push you forward in the digital world. Or you might even want to consider doing something with listening to books instead of being on social media. So I'm always listening to a book, whether on YouTube or Audible most of the time, or even a podcast. Like I'm just trying to find ways to get myself to move forward. And some people like to say, move the needle. So when you think about those three things I had you consider what you're investing in, think about how you can use those things to focus on for your time so that you are really using it wisely and it's going to help you in the future. Now, the next thing I want to talk about in terms of getting a return on your investment is your self care. This is everything. I literally just left the nail shop, and that's why I was like, I have to get on here, do my podcast episode because I feel like that girl. So I wanted to make sure I dropped in and just shared all this good energy with you all. Your self-care is going to help your life improve so much by one, improving your confidence. Two, it's also going to help you believe that you are more worthy. The people that I know who invest in themselves with their self care, they typically see themselves as someone who has a little more value. And what's crazy is that my husband is the reason that I started getting my nails done. When we first dated years ago, he was like, "Oh, do you ever get your nails done?" And I had just gotten out of college. Like, I'm like, huh? Like, nails? I don't have time for that. I'm barely, I'm just now getting a salary. Those aren't things that I'm thinking about. And he just brushed it off and kept it moving. But I was like, you know what? That is something that I should consider doing. And it has been a habit ever since because when my nails feel good, my feet feel good, I'm getting, my waxes, and I'm just really keeping myself up, it makes me feel so important to myself. It makes me feel like I'm really making sure that I'm good. I'm really ensuring my life has longevity, especially like Friday, I went to the chiropractor. The week before that, I got a massage. Those are things that I try to keep going. And I'll talk more into health and wellness in just a bit. But, those are things that really, really help me to move forward. Because if your body is aching and not feeling well, if you're not just really providing strong care, and everyone's version of self-care is different. For some people, it could be relaxing in a long hot bubble bath for 20 minutes. It could be going out for a walk. It could be sitting on your porch drinking tea. Everyone's version of that is going to be unique to you, but you want to create a routine where you can be consistent with your self care and making sure you make yourself a priority. For me, I have also found that self-care, and this kind of goes into that inner healing, is that I don't add more onto my plate or try to self-sabotage. And what that means is, as I'm caring for myself, I see what all I have on my plate. And when things are feeling good, instead of me adding something else on to complicate my life, I have enough love and care for myself to say, no, I like what I have. That is truly self care. That is not overwhelming yourself. It's also setting boundaries because you recognize it gets to be this good, it gets to get better and better. And that is something that really helps you to up level so much more. And it's actually something that I have had to reflect on a lot in my self care journey because I would find myself in these situations where I feel like I was going in circles. It would be like things would be good, and then I would like have to do something else to just dump onto my plate. And the more that I would dump onto my plate, the less that I really was caring for myself on a deeper level. Self-care isn't just superficial nails, hair, makeup, things of that nature. It's also your internal world. Are you taking time for yourself? Are you breathing? Are you regulating your nervous system? Are you trying to make your life more complicated because you don't feel worthy of the goodness? And this even goes into your feminine and masculine energy. Are you finding yourself kind of grinding your gears, being in burnout mode because you feel like that's the only way that you can have success? What I have found is the more that I lean into my feminine energy, the more abundance that I have been able to get a return on investment with. So I'll give you an example. In my career as a consultant, it's very easy, especially with contracts, to be like, oh, well, I got to have this contract, I got to have that, I got to count this money, I don't care. I am not worried about how much I need to make this month, what I need to do. I don't care. I am focused on alignment, and what is for me is for me. No one can take that away from me. And I have to trust that God knows what I need and what I don't need, and that I'm willing to surrender, but I'm also not willing to add more on than I need to. You know what you can handle and what you cannot handle if you listen to your inner intuition. You can also ask God to support you in that because I noticed, especially for those of you who might be more in the masculine energy side and you kind of like a little hustle, you like that lifestyle. And that's something I found out that I was kind of addicted to that. I was addicted to the drama of the hustle, always adding something in and just taking it on. I also realized that I was spreading myself too thin in certain areas of my life. Like, why are you like burning ends of the candles? Like, why are you doing this to yourself? What is it? And I found that sometimes it's all about not feeling valuable enough, trying to prove yourself, proving your worth, but to who? That's what you have to ask yourself, to who? Because the only person's opinion that matters is your own, and you won't have one if you burn yourself out. You won't be able to enjoy your life because you're always burning yourself into the ground. And so I have learned how to put things in place and love what I have and enjoy it and embrace it instead of always being ready to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Instead, I really care for my soul, my body, my mind, everything deserves my care and deserves my love. It's not just, oh, well, I only care about myself externally. It's also those internal things because that is where you find your value. That is where you find your health being at the top level. And the higher your health is, the better, more abundance you're going to find yourself, and you will find having bigger returns on investments. So when we come back to the second part of this episode, you guys, we're going to dive in talking about your personal and professional development to really push you forward. A lot of people talk about personal development in the space that I'm in, but I want to talk about on a professional level how you can take yourself from making a certain amount of money to making that in a week, right? If you were making a certain amount in a month, I'm going to help you get that down to a weekly salary. Okay. That's the type of quantum jumping that I have been able to do. And it has been something so easy and so simple. And while it was a journey and it did take a little bit of time, but not as much time as it takes most people. And I want to share with you the steps that I took to do just that.
In your manifestation journey of building six-figure plus wealth, you can use journaling to help you get there. If you would like, you can grab my Journal Your Way to 100K workbook at shesworthy.org/journal.
So now that we're back from the break, I want to share with you all more insight into making that return on investment for this year. Now, this is something like the winter arc, and I'm going to talk more about this in another podcast episode. But right now, as I'm recording, we have about 2.5 more months left in the year, and you really want to make sure that you are making the best out of this time because if you don't, you might wind up regretting the progress that you could have made. And as I shared with you, you want to invest in yourself, reclaim your time, and really dig into your self-care practices. Now, some other things that you will want to do, I want to talk about your health and wellness first. So, your health and wellness is vital. There is no way that you can get around it. Your health is literally attached to the amount of money that you will make. It's attached to the relationships that you will have. Your health has to be top tier in order for you to perform. So, I'm going to talk about just health and wellness as a whole and things that I do that really help me. And then I am also going to get into your personal and professional development pieces so you can see an ROI in every area of your life. So, let's talk about specifically with your health physically. I tend to work out 3 to 4 times a week. This might be walking, biking. You can even look at some opportunities for you to do HIIT workouts. That's what I do. Strength training. I have all types of options that I allow myself to do. And you may have different goals in mind that you are wanting to hit with your health, but I'm just talking specifically about getting your body moving on a day-to-day basis, especially if you have a job that is more sedentary. So the jobs that I have contractually are a bit more of a sedentary lifestyle, while I have a soft life and all of these things, that doesn't mean that I'm not moving my body and making sure that I am feeling my best. And one way I'm able to feel my best is also looking into my diet. So I have more of a vegan vegetarian diet, and I really want you to sit down and think about what type of diet do you think allows you to perform the best. So I am one of those people that believe in like a 80-20. So for example, today, I had for breakfast, I had like, something that was filling, some hash browns. I had um a biscuit, and no, maybe that's not the most nutrient dense. However, I don't do that every single day, every single morning. That's not necessarily my style. But what you will see me eating on almost a daily basis is having my um oatmeal, my protein. I typically have very high protein meals and lots of fruits and vegetables, if at all possible. And if I'm not able to get in my greens through having a salad, I will have in my light body armor, I will put Irish sea moss, I'll put some greens in there, as well as collagen. So I'm really making sure I have a very rich diet because I understand that that determines how I'm feeling, how I'm able to balance my hormones, because that's another part of health and wellness. A lot of people have hormone imbalances and they don't even know it. I know for me, I actually had, especially after I had my son, hormone imbalances, and they were not pretty. In fact, it led to me not being at my best self mentally and emotionally. And it caused a lot of issues in relationships and things of that nature because I was not where I needed to be. And I didn't know that I needed to use certain supplements to help me get my balance back. And when I was even pregnant, I had a hormone imbalance, which was why I basically vomited 2 to 3 times a day, and my weight fluctuated up and down, and just all of those things. Of course, I received medical treatment, and there were some things I could not do because I was carrying my child. But even after, there were things that I didn't know now, what, 3 years postpartum, I have a whole routine and I have supplements that I utilize, which include ashwagandha, taking magnesium glycinate. I also make sure that I have turmeric that has ginger, as well as just some other properties for the body. My omega 3s, I have plenty of oils, just different things that are going to make sure that my body is top tier and I have a performance level. And I'm thinking about adding all of those supplements that I use onto my Amazon profile so that you all can check those out. I will let you know whenever that is available, but my health and wellness is top tier. And I also recommend that you decide what type of vitamins that you want to include. I also want to mention, are you getting outside in nature? I try to get outside at least once a day to get sunlight if at all possible, because I know with me being inside most of the time, like I'll go out, even if it's just sitting on my patio where it might be shaded, and then I step outside. I try to go barefoot if I can, just to ground myself. Those things are important, making sure that you're getting fresh air, just little things that we might take for granted and not recognize can really help us in terms of our wellness. Of course, talk to your doctor and see if they can help you. I also go to the chiropractor, and my chiropractor is not like the kind that like, oh, we're gonna crack your neck, your back. No, my chiropractor literally asks me every part of my body that is bothering me, and like she helps with every single aspect. It's not like a general visit every time I go. It's very specific to me, and it has helped me tremendously. I may only now go like once a month, and I'm able to hold my adjustments much longer. So that helps me as well with any pains because unfortunately, if you were a person who played certain sports and you had all of these things going on with your body, it's not always going to be easy. I played softball. Unfortunately, I was in an accident. And so, I have pains in different areas sometimes. And so I have to make sure that those are intact. And I also believe in great and aging gracefully. And that is something that I don't think enough people talk about, how important it is to age in a way that truly benefits you, because we all are going to get to a certain point in our lives where, our bodies are going to change. We're not going to be how we were before. And so you just want to take care of your body in the best way possible. So make your health and wellness a top priority. Now, the next thing that I want to dive into deeper is your personal development. This is everything, okay? So, with your personal development, I love it, and I like crave personal development. It is something that really helps me to see myself in a different light. And I remember when I've always done personal development even as a young teen. Like I loved the inspiring messages in like 17 magazine, or I would make wall collages, I would set my goals up. Those were all things that I really enjoyed, and I had tons of fun and inspiration from. But as I got older, and I would say 2016 is when I got deeper into the personal development world and like embedded with spirituality and just growth. As I learned more about personal development and how it helps you, I was able to really see so many things that I had not seen before. One of those things with personal development, and I am going to do a podcast episode on this, was learning about my upper limits. So I'm currently reading a book from, it's called Letting Go, and I think his name is David Hawkins. That book should be on my Amazon link. If you ever go to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and find me, it's also on YouTube. My link tree has all of my different links, and one of them is my Amazon, and you'll see it talks about the books that I have. But that book has really helped me understand what upper limits are. And it's basically where you decide how good that you're going to let something get before you find a way to self sabotage. And what I've learned is that a lot of people don't even recognize they have these patterns. And it is something that you can take your power back from. The more aware you are of what you're doing over and over and over again, the more power that you have to be able to say, wait, why am I doing this? Hold up. What can I do differently? That is where you begin to stand up and stop the cycles. So I'll give you an example. I noticed my family has very impoverished mentality when it comes to finances. So an example of this is like my family, they'll get like these windfalls and funds will come in and everything's good. And then all of a sudden they find themselves either in debt or they have less money than they had before. And it just keeps repeating. over and over and over and over. And it's sad, but it's still happening. And what I have learned from that is, okay, do we go through cycles in life? Yes. But do we have to repeat certain cycles? No. We can create our own new cycles. And so the cycle that I have with wealth is that mine only increases over time. If I notice myself fluctuating in savings, I look at that pattern and I see, why am I fluctuating? Of course, life happens, right? We're not going to dismiss that. But I want to see, what am I doing? What patterns am I creating? Do I not allow myself to continue to have more money because deep down inside, I'm afraid of it? I'm afraid if I have this much money, is something going to happen to where I can't keep it all? You have to really sit down and like think about those upper limits you may have. And it can also come in your relationships. Do you have, because I noticed that like within my own marriage, where I don't think that, sir, I wouldn't allow my husband to love me and cuddle and touch on me as much. And which is so weird now that I think about it. I think I had this upper limit where I didn't really want certain things because I was afraid it was all going to go away, which that pattern came from the fact that I lost my father at an early age. And so I believe I was just afraid of getting love and then having it snatched, you know? And that's something that now I realize and recognize, and my husband and I are closer than ever. And I allow him to love on me and care for me. And then even my son, like he does it now himself. Like my son, he always, if he sees daddy kissing me, he's gonna come and give me a kiss. If he sees daddy hugging me, he's going to do the same thing. So it's just a really beautiful dynamic where I have found us being able to be closer, and where I'm not allowing myself to push people away because of that fear. Instead, I am allowing them to come closer, because just because that happened to me as a child doesn't mean that that's something that's going to happen over and over again. Like that was a one-time event. And sometimes we allow these one-time events to predict and determine our entire lives. And that's not fair to us. And we have to understand that we don't have to keep repeating things over and over and over again. We get to be the groundbreaker. We get to stop those things. So as you are looking at your personal development, think about what ideas and things you are doing that self-sabotage your next level. Look at yourself emotionally. Look at yourself spiritually. So I know for me, my human design, and if you don't know your human design, I highly recommend you find that out. I have an emotional authority. I have high emotional intelligence. I'm very empathetic. And what I also learned is that my emotions are my superpower. But when they are imbalanced and you don't have a strong nervous system, which I found that out through personal development, I was not able to use my emotions for gain. I was actually regressing because I was more reactive. Without personal development, I would not have known that. I would not have learned how important it is to keep your nervous system intact by doing things like EFT tapping, deep breathing, guided meditations. I would not have been able to find that. And now that my emotions are regulated, I rarely have, whether it's, arguments or overreactions. Like I'm so calm about everything, and I love that for me. I have more peace in my life than I have ever been able to find, and so I encourage you all to look into that. I also want to mention that my personal development journey brought me closer to God because I started to depend on Him so much more than I ever have before when it comes to my like work life balance, when it comes to, protecting my child and even the beauty of my marriage. Like, I had to go through that personal journey to be able to learn more. And I've found that the people who do personal development on a regular basis typically have the most success in their lives because they are building an awareness of what they are doing and they're able to control their impulses to act. So they're not just on this repeating revolving door, they're not on a revolving door. If they get on the door, they know how to get out. They know how not to get back on. They have control. It's not just these robotic lifestyles that they have. And you want to be a person who digs into your personal development on a regular basis. So I will invite you all to grab my journal, Your Way to 100K workbook. If you go to shesworthy.org/journal, you can definitely check that out because that is where all of the personal development tricks around money manifestation are embedded. And this is also going to help you get that return on investment, not only financially, but in every single way of your life. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about are your professional development opportunities that you will want to take in your life. So I want to be very clear that my professional development is the reason why I am talking to you on a radio station, TV stations. I've worked with people all over the world, and it's because I have acquired skills, experiences, licenses, certificates. I have 3 degrees in education. I have been able to really put my skill set to use. But in my professional development, first things first, if I did not know my gifts, I would not know what to zone in on. So I really want you to think about what things come to you the most easily. For me, it is speaking. I am an international speaker. I'm an author. I'm a writer. I am a guru at communication and sharing my ideas. So, because that comes so easily for me, it's something that I love to do. It's natural. So I encourage you to think about what your gifts are. And then I want you to consider ways in which you can use your gifts and your talents. So for me, knowing that I love to speak, that means that I have to take those skills and zone in on speaking in the best way possible and getting on certain platforms, utilizing my communication to propel me forward. And so that is why I do a lot of professional development in education. And I do want to also note that you might have multiple gifts and talents. You may not be able to use all of them in one place, but what you want to do is zone in on which skills are going to make you the most money, fulfillment, balance, and happiness. Okay. So for me, while I am multifaceted, I have multiple talents. I recognize that if I'm trying to use every single one of them, it's not going to work out for my best interest. Trust me, I've tried. It makes you put 2 eggs in each basket when you could put them all in one basket, fill it up, and go on to the next, right? So you really want to keep those types of things in mind so that you can be the most successful. So I know for a fact the skills that I have in education have typically brought me the most money, and it is mostly around literacy. And so that is where I spend the bulk of my time, is dealing with anything literacy. That has helped me so much because when I was focusing on multiple subject areas, I didn't find myself as successful as when I stopped doing as many. Then, when I stopped working with so many grade levels and I found a niche, I found more success. It's okay to niche down. I know a lot of people say, oh, you don't need a niche. You don't. Listen, I am telling you what worked for me. When you have a niche, that means you become an expert in something. And being an expert as opposed to a jack of all trades is so much better for you, not only mentally, but in the professional world. So the more scaled down that I have become, the more I have been able to get a return on my investment. Even in this platform with She's Worthy, I only discuss money, right? I have the Money Goddess podcast. I talk about money manifestation and what it takes to manifest money. Now, I might talk about different things in a part of that, but our focus on is on enriching our lives. And so since that is my focus, that's how I'm able to get to you all through these different channels, as opposed to when I was focused on more than one thing, right? Even though I might have liked other things, I recognized I needed to have a niche. Abundance, money. That is my niche. And it makes my life a lot more simple as well. And I'm not finding myself all over the place or trying to figure out this or that. And I know for some people, you're like, oh, well, you're going to miss out on this customer. You're going to miss out on that customer. Listen, you want quality, not quantity. Because if you are so focused on having all of these people pulling on your energy for different things, you're not going to be able to scale your business. And that is something that I have been able to do successfully, is scale. Because I have a niche, I have products that sell. I focus in on those specific things that I do, and that is what has made me wealthy, as opposed to trying to do everything. Let other people do those things. And a lot of the things that you think are your strengths, or you think that's what people want, is not always the case, and it's not always aligned to you. Think about that. You have to do what is aligned and what is going to allow you to really, really have a true focus and not be everywhere. Because when you're trying to do everything, you're not going to get anything out of it. Take the time to advance yourself with your skill set. Invest in courses. Get your certifications or licenses. I have so many certifications in literacy, and it has helped me even with my own son. My son is 2, and we are practicing reading words. He has gotten really, really good with his sounds. There are just so many things that I have seen be able to benefit him. I even have like one of his little books right here next to me. These are the things that I know are not only helping me and become a real passion, it's also helping my own child, and I'm able to help other people with their children, and it's very fulfilling for me. And even talking on this platform, it is so fulfilling to see and hear that you all have gotten results from the things that I'm sharing, because I'm not all over the place or talking about this and then talking about that. And because I have a true focus, I have found more people are getting a lot out of what I'm doing. And I know that it's very easy because you're going to see different people on different platforms talk about this, and they're going to say, this is how you get this, and this is how you become so successful, and all of this. And you're going to hear varying points of view. But I'm here to tell you that when you really allow yourself to fully become the most elevated version of yourself, and that version is not a person that is all over the place. That person has a zen place. A zen place for me is a place where I can be calm, I can be focused, and I can be an assassin. And when I say an assassin, I mean an assassin as someone who not only has certain skills that are being used, and I'm able to centralize and attack. And when I have that, there is no amount of success that I can't have or can't achieve, because the energy and the frequency and the potency that I can put behind what I'm doing is top tier. And no one can stop that. And that's what you want to do for yourself.